how's it going? My name is Ciara O'Halloran and you're very welcome to the Burren Virtual Food Fair. We're here with you this evening from Flaggy Oysters here in New Quay in the Burren Cliffs and Moher Geopark. What I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the oysters and how to open them. That's very often the biggest block for people buying oysters outside of ordering them in a restaurant. So I'm going to teach you how to shuck them and then talk through a little bit one or two different toppings that we'll go through. And some of the recipes are already in the Burren Dinners cookbook as well that's being promoted. So in Ireland we have two species of oysters. We have a native or wild one and we have a Pacific one or farmed cultivated one. The wild ones only go on the west coast and you'll get them between September and April. And then for the farmed or Pacific ones, they are the ones that you'll get year round. They are the ones that are cultivated and farmed across Europe and all around the coast of Ireland. And the amazing thing about oysters is that they actually take on the flavour, much like a wine, they take on the flavour of where the land meets the sea and of the particular bay. So every bay is different. So we here in New Quay work with two farmers beside us, and one is towards Kinvara, one is 5 miles away and one is 3 miles away. So the oysters are all very much locally sourced, but they have a different flavour profile because of the bays that they're growing in. So try a couple of different types of oysters. So to go through as to how to shuck them or how to open them, the easiest thing is if you take the oyster in your left hand, and if you have, these farmed oysters, the ones that you'll get year round, they're sort of a deep cup with a flat top on it. They're shaped a little bit like a teardrop, and if you hold it in your left hand with the pointy bit facing towards your wrist, if you're looking at it straight on, at 3 o'clock is always where the muscle that attaches the top shell to the bottom shell is going to be. So that's what you got to release in ultimately. Oysters can filter up to 7 litres of water an hour, so they're amazing in terms of, and the way they do that is by opening, filtering in the water and closing. So the muscle that attaches the top shell and the bottom shell is the one that we're going to want to release. Different people go into oysters different ways. Some go in the top, go in at that muscle at 3 o'clock, or in the back hinge, and that's where I'm going to show you this evening. It's the easiest one with these particular oysters. These are our Flaggy Shore dainty oysters. They're about 18 months old, so they're a younger oyster. And the biggest danger to shucking oysters, so you do want a shucking knife, ultimately. People have done them with screwdrivers and butter knives and everything else to get into an oyster, but the easiest way is with an oyster knife or a shucking knife. And the other thing you need is a tea towel. And if you take that oyster in your left hand, when you're going shucking, the biggest danger is always in your wrist. So what we do is we use the tea towel and we double it over to protect that hand there. If you face the oyster so that it's sort of facing, that 3 o'clock is now at 12 o'clock, and you're going to come in at the hinge. The key with opening an oyster is that it takes a couple of goes until you get used to it. It's kind of like getting the biting point of a car, and you want to push the knife in, but not drive it all the way through. Flip it over and back if you need to, not up and down, because it's only going to snap the knife. So the idea is to get the tip of the blade in. So you're going in at the back here, and you're pushing in a little bit just until it's in underneath. And at that point, rotate the knife away from you, and that'll pop the back shell. So it's sort of lifted there a little bit. And then if you bring the knife up and just slice it down, and you're cutting, remember that it's that muscle at 3 o'clock that was right there. It's just in here, and that's what you're doing. You're lifting, just slicing underneath it to loosen it, and that's it. It's ready to go. Some of the big things, people love oysters. See, people aren't so sure about oysters. But there's lots of different toppings and ways that you can do them. The oysters from around here, because we are not beside any estuary, and as we know with the Burren and it being a limestone region, the water trickles down and hits the bays in certain points with underwater streams. So it carries all the nutrients of the Burren with any of the oysters around this area. But what you want to do, because of that, they're also quite salty because there isn't a lot of fresh water coming in. So sometimes to get ready for an oyster, think of it as dunking your head in the sea, and that's the flavour profile that it'll give you. If it's too salty, give it a squeeze of lemon, and that's going to cut through your salt content. Also, if you're not sure about it, we here use a couple of different vinegars. These are 2 wildwood vinegars that I think you can get in some of the local places like the Cheese Press and Ennisdiamond. And these are made up in Ballina, up in Mayo. And a couple of drops of them. We've a wild cliff samphire and fennel, or this is the wild black bluebell salmic. There's a smoked black bluebell salmic. There's some lovely ones. If you like your oysters with a little bit more of a hot sauce or something like that, there's a number of different ones that we also use. Scarlet for your ma, that's a pineapple and mango hot sauce. It's great. They have a choice of about 4 different hot sauces, which is super. There's another one from Galway, a smoking hot hooker sauce. That's a smoked one. If you can't get any of those, there's your regular Tabascos. But yeah, try them natural. Try it with a squeeze of lemon or various different vinegars or different toppings like that. The other way then, so that's in terms of the flavour or to cut through the salt content. A lot of those will do that. But another way to have oysters is to cook them, bake them, or grill them. And what that'll do is it'll change the consistency of them, so they'll take on a consistency more like a cooked mussel. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to open up another one of the oysters, a shuck one, and we're going to top it with some grated Parmesan cheese and some chopped up chorizo. So once again, I'm going to protect that mussel there. I'm turning the oyster so that the hinge is facing backwards and the round part of it is facing into the tea towel. I'm going to get my knife and I'm going to put it in at sort of a 45-degree angle until it's just in underneath the top shell, and I'm going to twist it so it's going to pop. Bring it up and slice it down like that. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So with this, because all of this water, seawater or brine that's in it, I'm actually going to get rid of that to dry it out a little bit more because it just adds a little extra, I suppose it makes it a little bit more moist. And this is some chopped up chorizo that I have that I'm going to put on that. I'm going to put some grated Parmesan cheese on top of it. And you just either place it under the grill until the cheese melts or stick it in the oven at about 180 for about 10 minutes. And some that I prepared earlier, this is the way they'll come out. So you just wait until you'll notice it, the cheese will be melted, but it'll taste, the consistency of the oyster will change. So you'll still get the same nutrient value, you'll still get the same flavour, but it just won't have the same raw consistency. Oysters are fully loaded in many nutrients like zinc and magnesium, selenium, so they're good. They're great at this time of the year as well in terms of from nutrients point of view. And yeah, that's it. Enjoy them.